Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you're new in my channel, please continue to like, share, and subscribe it to your friends para mas marami pa silang matututunan at mas marami akong masishare ng aking mga information patungkol na rin sa ating mga discussions in different subjects like English, Filipino, and mathematics. But today, another unit na naman ang ating pagtutuunan ng pansin because we're going to talk about the self-teaching unit in avoiding the misplaced and dangling modifiers. Credits to the author of this one by Margaret Albiner. Let's discuss first different kinds of modifier. But before that, may I ask you, what do you mean by modifier? Anybody? Okay. Well, modifier is actually a description or something or a statement that describes or illustrate a certain subject. Okay, for example, here the misplaced modifier. What is a misplaced modifier? Well, a misplaced modifier is a word, phrase, or a clause that is improperly separated from the word it modifies or describes. Take note that because of the separation, sentences with this error often sound awkward, ridiculous, or confusing. Furthermore, they can be downright illogical. In creating a certain statement, we use the certain noun, a certain adjective, or a certain phrase that defines or describes a certain subject. For example, here in our misplaced modifier, we have the sentence, on her way home, Jan found a gold man's watch. Okay? Our subject here is Jan. He is the person in this statement. Now, let's take a look and consider why is this highlighted statement here, gold man's, became a misplaced modifier. Okay, let's try to realize. On her way home, Jan found a gold man's watch. By simply listening to that statement, gold man's watch, do we mean to say that the man is gold? Okay, so you are trying to say it is considered as misplaced modifier because in this statement, gold man owns a watch, meaning the man is gold who owns the watch. But to rephrase it and in order to place the modifier correctly and appropriately, we have to rephrase the statement like this. On her way home, Jan found a man's gold watch, meaning to say it is a correctly placed modifier because watch here is being described as a gold one owned by the man. Misplaced modifiers can usually be corrected by moving the modifier to a more sensible place in a sentence, generally next to the word it modifies, meaning the word that we modify here is the man. Okay? Because man here owns the watch, which is gold. So gold here modifies the watch as its characteristic. So on her way home, Jan found a man's gold watch. So the watch is gold, owned by the man. Now it is the watch that is gold. Let's notice that there are several kinds of misplaced modifiers. First, we have the misplaced adjectives. Misplaced adjectives are incorrectly separated from the nouns they modify and almost always distort the intended meaning. Example here, the child ate a cold dish. Okay, excuse me. I'll try to highlight this one. Mm, let's just read this one. I can highlight. Example, the child ate a cold dish of cereal for breakfast this morning. It is considered as misplaced adjective. Cold here is considered as the characteristic of a certain dish, meaning to say it describes the dish. So cold here is a misplaced adjective. Instead of writing a cold dish of cereal, we can correct the error by placing the adjective next to the noun it modifies. Okay, so we can say the child ate a dish of cold cereal for breakfast this morning. Meaning to say, The child ate a certain cereal with a cold characteristic. So the cereal here is being described as a cold cereal that was being eaten by the child. So the child ate a dish of cold cereal for breakfast this morning. It is correctly placed adjective because it modifies the word or the subject cereal. We have here the example number 2. The torn student's book lay on the desk. Okay, let's try to analyze the particular statement. The torn student's book lay on the desk. If we're going to analyze the word torn, it is an adjective which describes the word students. Question, is it the student being torn? So you might wonder, it's vague. It's ambiguous. So it would be unclear. The statement's meaning would be unclear for us to comprehend. So, in order to correct the statement, we have to place the modifier correctly. So, to correct, we can say, the student's torn book lay on the desk. So, meaning to say, the torn object here is the book, not the student. So, meaning, the student owned the torn book that is being laid on the desk. So the student's torn book lay on the desk. So it is correctly placed adjective because the torn here modifies the word book. Sentences like this are common in everyday speech and ordinarily cause their listeners no trouble. However, they are quite imprecise and therefore should have no place in your writing. In writing a certain statement or anything that we're going to write, let's always consider the proper placing of the modifier or the adjective in a certain statement, because if we do not place it correctly, it would cause ambiguity, or the listeners or the readers would find it unclear and ambiguous. Next, we have the placement of adverbs. Placement of adverbs can also change meaning in sentences. Okay? The first one we have discussed earlier was about the misplaced adjective. Now let's discuss the misplaced or the placement of the adverb. For example, the sentences below illustrate how the placement of just can change the sentence's meaning. Just means only John was picked, no one else. Okay, let's try to identify how to properly write the adjective in this particular statement. Just means only John was picked, no one else. Okay. Just John was picked to host the program. So in this statement, it is clearly stated that only John was being picked or chosen to host the program. So just here modifies John. Okay, just here is the adverb that modifies John. So just John was picked to host the program. Now, on the next statement, just means that John was picked now. So, in this particular statement, the subject is still John and we still use the word just, but it is being placed to another portion or another part in the sentence that creates a new meaning or new function. So, just here is being placed with a new function. So, just means that John was picked now. Example, John was just picked to host the program. So, John recently or at this moment is being picked to host the program. So John was just picked to host the program at the moment. So just here refers to at the moment. Next, just means that John hosted only the program, nothing else. Again, we're still going to use the just here in the same statement, but again, it comprises or it stands in another function. John was picked to host just the program. Okay. John's still a subject, and picked or was picked is the verb, and just here is still the adverb that modifies the program. Okay. John was picked to host just the program, meaning John was chosen to host the program alone and nothing else. Okay. Only the program that is being focused by John. Okay? So John was picked to host just the program or only the program. The first one, only John. Okay, this one. Okay, this one. Second one, um, at the moment. Okay, at the moment, John was chosen or was picked. Then the third one, only the program that is being referred to where John was picked as the host. So only the program where John was to be or has to be a host or was a host. Each of these sentences says something logical but quite different, and its correctness depends upon what the writer has in mind. Often, misplacing an adverb not only alters the intended meaning, but also creates a sentence whose meaning is highly unlikely or completely ridiculous. This sentence, for example, suggests that we brought a lunch slowly. Okay, let's try to take a look at the example. We ate the lunch that we had brought slowly. Now, before I explain to you about the concept or how the adverb here is being placed, let me ask you and yourself, try to assess in yourself, how do you understand or how do you analyze the particular statement? How would you think it would, how can we change or how do you think we would change the placing of this adverb here to make it more appropriate? Go.